Well, happy Thursday, everybody. Pastor Steve here, and I'm so excited you've joined me for today's devotion. And I hope you're also looking forward to this Sunday. Frank Turek is going to be preaching in our service. We have one service, 10 a.m., no life groups, just the one service, 10 a.m. Service will last a little bit longer, not a lot, but a little bit longer. Great opportunity for you to invite people, especially if you've been witnessing to someone over the years and they say, well, how do you know the Bible's true? How do you know the Bible is God's word? This is the Sunday to bring them with you to First Baptist Church. So you do that and be praying for them too, okay? All right, today we are starting to read some of the Psalms again. Psalm 132, which is another of these psalms or songs of ascent. Psalms that people would pray or sing as they made their way up to Jerusalem, up to the temple to worship. And in this particular one, they are remembering and celebrating how much King David really wanted to build the temple. And you remember the story in the book of Kings and Chronicles that David wanted to build a house of God. And they talk about that in the opening verses, a dwelling place for God, which became the temple. But God would not let David build it. His son Solomon built the temple in Jerusalem. But David did collect all the resources needed to build it, and God gave David the design and the layout and the plans for the temple. But David wanted so much to build a house for God. And what spoke to my heart, here's the devotional thought, verse 6. Behold, we heard of it in Ephratah, we found it in the field of Jaar. What does that mean? It means that throughout the country of Israel, people heard about and knew how much King David wanted to build that house, that temple for the Lord. And here it is, years later, his son Solomon built it, and they're on their way to the temple to worship, and they're celebrating their king from decades earlier. And they're remembering how passionate he was to build a house for God, even though he didn't get to do it. But he still collected everything and made the plans. And they're saying, man, everybody in the country knew that about our king. I mean, the word just got out everywhere, all these different places that he was passionate and he wanted to do this. And I read that and I thought, do people see passion for God, for Jesus, and his church, and his ministry, and his work in me and you? I mean, do people know? I mean, do they know you're passionate about the Lord? You're passionate about his word. You're passionate about evangelism. You're passionate about worship. You're passionate about living for Jesus. Do people know how passionate you are as a disciple, as a follower of Jesus? And if they don't know it, why not? Why not? As a leader, I mean, this would be true in business. Do the people that you lead in business and industry and an institution know what you're passionate about? If you're a leader in ministry at this church, whether it's leading a life group or a D group or any other ministry in this church, do people know that you're passionate about it? And do they know the passion, what it is you're wanting to see happen? That just struck my heart that people should know we're passionate about something when it comes to the things of God, about Jesus. And then one more thing that really struck me is verse 9, where in this Psalm of Ascent, as they make their way to the temple to worship, verse 9, they sing, "Let your priests be clothed with righteousness." They weren't singing about the fancy garments that the priests would wear. Let your priests be dressed in righteousness. And I think about clergy and pastors. I think about deacons and ministry leaders in a church. Righteousness matters. Being dressed in righteousness and holiness matters. More than performance, more than talent, more than accomplishment. I think in much of the world today, in Christianity, there is a greater celebration of celebrity than there is of righteousness and faithfulness. That we're too awed by the celebrity Christian, the celebrity preacher, and we don't value character enough. And we see it play out in our culture all the time. That people with a lot of talent and a lot of celebrity, too many of them are lacking very much character. And it hurts the cause of Christ. And in a sense, we believers share some of the blame because we get carried away with celebrity more than character. What's your thoughts about that? That's the devotion for today. I'll see you tomorrow as we look at Psalm 133.